Hello and welcome to another Stream Team Movie Talk. Today we will be talking about Terminator and T2 Judgment Day. I'm very excited. I've seen these movies for the first time this year, actually, but I need to bring in my guest before we discuss this any further. So without further ado, the White Dragon.
I am back.
Yes, I'll be back. And our good friend, please welcome Von Lustra.
My old enemy. You cannot hide from me.
On your feet, soldier.
Huh.
On your feet, soldier.
Indeed. And long time, I'm no C. Please welcome our good friend.
He's going right for the crew!
Drake the Duelist.
He'll live.
Yep, indeed.
Oh yeah.
What
Indeed.
why cut the horn off? That still bugs me.
Oh yeah, he sadistically cuts his horn off. It just cause. Yeah.
It's like if you want to be really sadistic, drill his skull, but cutting the horn off, that's just like, ooh, check my edge. Anyway,
Yeah.
but that's a topic for another day. And
Well, we've already done
probably
the
cover-
Snyder Cut. Well, we've already done the Snyder Cut. We don't need to.
Oh, thank God. No, I don't have to
For
talk
that.
about
We
it.
don't need to talk about
Terminator.
Yeah. We do have one last person in the back room. Please welcome Johan.
Is everything ready? Do it.
Thousands of souls extinguished by the push of a button.
Understand, Yuri. This is only the beginning.
Well, that has been a long time. Terminator 1 and 2. Damn.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
they are good movies for that time. Trust
It's
me.
been 84 years.
Yeah, we can finally talk about good movies.
Yay!
Yep. Yep, we can. Especially after we did Transformers 1 and 2. We're doing the good T2s, E1 and T2. And like, I think Tarek was kind of broken by the end of the stream. Becca definitely was. She was like, "Why in the fetch are you watching this movie?"
It's like a good question. Good question. Good question.
For another time.
Yeah, I had to get Johan out of the hangout hall. He kind of forgot.
All right. I was a little bit of a sticky bomb on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, Terminator 1. So Terminator 1 is kind of an interesting. It's kind of like Mad Max in a way, where it was originally like this cheap guerrilla filmmaking shoestring budget movie that James Cameron threw together, and then due to a death on set, it got a lot of publicity, and then a lot of people went to see it, making
A death on set.
yeah, there was a death on set of the Terminator.
Oof.
And what happened was I can't remember exactly what happened. I just remember like one of the crew members, I think, died on set, and because of that, Terminator got a lot of buzz, whereas I think that it would have gone unnoticed otherwise. And the multiplier was like it had $6 million budget, which today seems like a pathetic pittance, and made $76 million.
That's quite insane.
6 million today. That can't even fund like a student film at this rate.
No, it can't. Yeah.
Yes, agreed. 100%.
Yes. I that is an excellent meme. That is an excellent meme, Space Junk. That is an excellent
Space
meme.
Junk. You had me there on the first bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you can see what they established with only the amount of money they had, the limited amount of money they had, it is actually quite magnificent how far they went with this, with the movie itself. It's still a lovely movie to watch even today.
It's
the dated effects only peek through occasionally.
And even if you
impressive.
know the twists, it's still solid. More on that later.
Yeah.
Duelist, I don't know if you can turn down your mic gain, but you're peaking a bit.
I can't turn down my mic. Done. Can you do something on your end?
Yeah, I can edit the mic settings. So let me automatically adjust the volume. Does that work?
Testing.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
So kind of the plot of the Terminator is very simple. It's basically it was actually like inspired. James Cameron was actually inspired by a dream that he had while he was suffering with food poisoning
in Rome.
In Rome of all places, and he decided to write the story about a robot that came back in time to kill somebody. This lady who's going to be the mother of the future savior of Earth. So, and that's kind of the plot, and it's very simple, but there's a lot of the simplicity of the plot really helps to lend momentum, as well as kind of keep it from being too bogged down, especially like since the time travel is just he's able to go back in time one way and can't go back, and they're both trying to create a paradox, which works as a premise a lot better than something like Endgame, where they introduce time travel apropos of nothing in order to
fix
the plot and fix the story. And it's just,
even though there's a lot of high-end sci-fi stuff, the plot itself, once the time travel has actually happened, is really simple. And keep it simple, stupid, because it helps you to avoid the gaping Tsunoma Seacot-sized plot holes that we've ended up getting recently.
Yeah.
Oh, like the series of Loki now on Netflix.
Disney Plus, you mean?
Yeah, that thing.
That show should not be named here.
Yeah,
it's funny that we talk about that show in relation to the Terminator franchise.
Well, you're talking about loopholes that are done good, and then you compare them to something that has done the loopholes bad. You know?
But Von Letcher, can we say Terminator isn't actually a franchise when there's only 2 movies?
That is a good point.
Yeah, somebody went back and I must be remembering something from an alternate timeline where somebody murdered the people who were making T3 through 6.
What are those?
Yeah, what are those?
Yeah, it's kind of sad what's happened to Terminator and Aliens. We're kind of like the third. Well,
all of them really. Predator.
Yeah, Predator's dead, pretty thoroughly dead after AVP and AVPR.
And the Predator.
And the Predator, yeah, I've heard nothing but bad. The Predator just looks like a trash fire.
Not to mention Alien Covenant.
Oh, Alien Covenant.
You mean the new Predator where autism is the key? You mean that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That
They
one
hate
is
everyone.
still baffle me.
They-
It still baffles me how that thing works. Like, it
Yeah.
does
How
not
that
exist.
got made.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like why woke culture didn't like utter like the like money hungry scared execs didn't pull the plug on it and say no, the woke crowd will savage us for this. Do not do this.
Well, probably because they don't even know what politically progressive is.
Yeah, probably.
Funny
yeah.
trivia: the Predator, the Shane Black movie. I think it was Shane Black was his name.
Yeah, Shane Black,
It
yeah.
had an actor who was an actual sexual predator in the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember hearing about that, and Olivia Munn very much wanted him off, and they ostracized her for it, which is kind of that's not cool, guys. Don't do that.
What the fuck? Jeez.
Yeah. But kind of a lot of I think the main strengths of this movie, and the time travel we're going to be discussing is more the time travel philosophy of Terminator 1, more than like the time travel mechanics. The mechanics are just there's a device in the future made by Skynet sent Kyle Reese and the Terminator back in time. Kyle is tasked with protecting Sarah Connor. The Terminator is tasked with killing Sarah Connor. And that's kind of the basic premise. That's basically the premise is keep Sarah Connor away while figuring out a way to kill the Terminator before it kills them.
Well, strictly speaking, the Rebels had their own time machine. It can get a little fuzzy trying to remember what happened in the first Terminator movie, given that literally no other Terminator movie gave a shit.
Yeah.
Not even 2.
Yeah,
as far
true.
if I remember this correctly, the idea was that the humans were actually winning, so Skynet sent back the Terminator as a last resort,
Exactly.
just as they were winning, which is going to create some problems when we get to the T2 discussion.
Yeah, the humans won.
Yeah, they're essentially trying to create a time paradox, but the problem is it's an infinite loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the machine that was trying to fight fate, not the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
Wait,
they kind
now
of
the people are fighting? For fuck's sake.
The people were trying to keep the timeline the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's how you need to do it.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of just I think that it works better when the bad guy's trying to affect time more than the good guys are trying to affect time, because when the good guys are trying to affect time, it kind of opens up a lot of can of worms.
Such as, what happens when you change something?
Yeah.
You mean the butterfly effect? Oh no.
Yeah.
Essentially, the butterfly effect, yeah.
Oh, we definitely should watch Sound of Thunder one day.
Yeah, it's like an old joke I have. Why aren't there time machines in real life? Because somebody from the future keeps going back in time to assassinate the inventor.
Yeah, probably. So let's talk about the I think the major strength of this isn't necessarily the convoluted, complicated plot. It's more the characters. Since there's kind of really only like 3 major characters in this movie, everybody else is kind of just ancillary to the rest of the plot. Since you have the Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and actually kind of an underrated role. He's actually like very, very good at being impassive. Like it's actually very hard to be like completely stone-faced and impassive for the whole runtime. I'm honestly, but he manages to do so, and it's very impressive.
I'm not an actor, so I can't comment on that particular thing.
Well, just like try to remain like completely stone-faced and emotionless for like an
I
entire
can.
2
I can just read
hours.
off a script and I can sound emotionless.
Well, that's including your face. You have to like completely control your face and make it so that your face doesn't really move very much.
These faces, these performances.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, when I move my mouth, it's like I move my mouth very little when I talk, so I could probably pull it off.
Probably. And
And
it's kind
this is why Arnold Schwarzenegger was so good at it.
of. And kind of the different, and kind of it's interesting because like eventually like because Arnold is this kind of is the role that I guess like he'd just barely been in Conan, I think, where he was kind of a like much more like grand and over the top action hero. This was kind of a more he was an understated villain.
Destroy your enemies, see them driven before you, and then hear the lamentation of the women.
Indeed. And kind of the Terminator is more of like a slasher movie villain than he is a like other kind of villain. He's he's very much like a more competent version of Jason in a lot of ways. And he just keeps coming back. They keep trying to kill him, and it keeps not working because the
He's an
endoskeleton.
unstoppable force, which is nice.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this is kind of what the Winter Soldier should have been, but kind of wasn't in his own movie
because he makes a bunch of stupid decisions.
Yeah, Winter Soldier is a strange entity.
Yeah. We'll talk about that when we cover the MCU. I don't know if we'll do it all in one go or if we'll have to split it up because there's so much MCU.
We'll probably
How
do it like
would you not
piecemeal,
split
maybe
it
like
up?
2 movies at a time or something.
Yeah, probably 2 movies at a time. Probably just we'll cover like a phase. Maybe we'll just cover a phase at a time in order because there's not really much to talk about with most of the movies. Like they're pretty basic in terms of their plots, and like how you can analyze them. There's not much to them. Admittedly, like Ragnarok has some elements of post-colonialism in it and post-imperialism because it's Taika Waititi. But that's for another day.
I mean, you can probably discuss the quality of the movies in for a lot of time.
Yeah, I know. Like Phase 2, like for a while, I thought Winter Soldier was the best of Phase 2, and now I'm just like, you know what? It might be on par with Iron Man 3 in terms of its plot. That's actually kind of sad, but it's fine. Life goes on. I can still enjoy it. I just like, it's a bad movie. I enjoy, like the
prequels.
Yes, it's a bad movie. I enjoy like the prequels. Yes, though I
Normally it gets triggered.
Yeah, I think like he can be triggered. It's fine. The honestly the two I would love to see triggered in the chat are replica films and Charlie Moneybags.
We need to get them in the stream.
Yeah,
not in the stream, but in the chat.
Yeah, but the major two that we focus on are Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor, and Michael Biehn in this movie gives a really, really fantastic shell-shocked appearance, and without his shell-shocked and just utterly like shattered performance in this movie, I don't think that it would have sold the future war and the desperation of Sarah's plight without it. What are your thoughts on Kyle Reese as a character?
No, I agree. Like, this is something that the later movies kind of fucking ignored, but he's supposed to be born and raised in an environment where he's never known society as we know it today. Everything he's ever known is hunger and fear and pain. And he's like he's really thin, and he's sort of just, there's several times where he just looks around and is seemingly in awe of the past that he's in.
Mm. Yeah, whereas so much, it's like he's in the lap of luxury, and it's kind of just like even like the bums live better than he was in the future war, which is kind of sad.
I guess that is indeed a thing that has been missing in the newest, Terminator movies. Is you're literally coming from an apocalyptic event, and then you're sent back in time, and you see everything that has been totally different. Of course, you will be shell shocked. And
It's maybe it's not so much a problem with just the later Terminator movies as it is with Hollywood movies in general.
Yeah, the sense
Because
of
they have quite a few trends like this.
Yeah, I think that one thing is just sense of wonder is no longer a thing.
Well, both that and also it's like everything is being, what should I say, sterilized maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you look at every fucking actor on screen these days, it's like even if these are characters who are supposed to be in a rough spot, it's like they still look very much conventionally attractive. Like they can afford, I don't know, makeup and hairstyling and hair.
Oh, like that.
And all.
Yeah, the Hollywood ugly.
Like
Yeah, the Hollywood ugly, essentially. Instead of, actually looking authentic.
Yeah, I think it's in like Michael Biehn, like just kind of the way that the film like makes it so that it can get away with its exposition really quickly is in Michael Biehn's impassioned screams regarding like the future war and how the Terminator works, and it just makes the film very rewatchable in terms of it doesn't like do its exposition in a bland way. Like he's screaming and yelling about it, and it's very impassioned.
In the interrogation. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like the plot of the real meat and bones of what is going on is basically told there in that one scene.
It's a little sad because Michael Biehn, he was in this, and then he was in Aliens as Hicks. Apart from that, he seems to have basically vanished off the face of the planet. Like, he's barely been in anything significant since then.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
that is true.
And like, if he isn't something big, it's not in a role that you would notice, like The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I just looked that up.
Very believable characters. Done.
Yes. So one interesting thing that I actually found funny was Lance Hendrickson was originally going to play the Terminator, or I think either that or yeah, he was going to play the Terminator, but then they decided to change it because they kind of wanted to have a bit of kind of a bit more of a mystery of who was going to be the Protector and who was going to be the Terminator, because Arnold looks like this giant meat mountain, but Lance Hendrickson is kind of more wiry, and he just kind of has a look like an evil bugger.
Yeah, I've heard in earlier drafts the Terminator was more written as a stealth agent. You can still kind of see that in some of the exposition.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having dogs to sniff out who's a Terminator and who's not.
Mm-hmm. Which is carried over in the second one, which is a neat little touch. and and kind of I think like one of the best parts of this is actually Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor and just how like her arc over the course of the film, where she is able to like she has to take the reins of her destiny in her own hands, especially after Kyle sacrifices himself with the pipe bomb. And like and it's the arc is furthered in T2 very much. But in this one, she has a very, very good arc where she kind of realizes, oh, like, well, kind of she quickly falls in love with this guy who more is in love with the idea of her rather than her herself, really.
I mean, they don't
But-
exactly know each other for a very long time.
No, they just kind of have a one night stand and keep going. Yeah, they just conceive the savior of the world and then they keep going.
You know, gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta get the job done.
Yeah, I really get the impression that John Connor was like the hero of worship in the future war. He was like the god emperor of mankind.
Yeah, that's the thing in this movie.
Essentially.
You barely know anything about John Connor.
He's kind of
It's more what they don't say than what they do.
Yeah, he's kind of he's just kind of a figure of myth almost. And you see a little bit of him in T2, but not very much.
You
And
see like
mainly
this
see-
little flash forward of him
And then you see
with
him
the other human forces.
Yeah, not to be
Mhm.
confused with the kid.
Yeah, and then you see him as a kid where you see him like act tactically, but he's a little crap. But he's
Yeah,
kind of
he's
an
kind of a-
entertaining little crap.
Yeah, he is kind of a piece of shit. But yeah, basically all they do is to hype up John Connor in this movie. Like
Mhm.
Kyle Reese says something to the fact that I would die for John Connor, which kind of just hammers home how important he is for the humans.
Yeah. It's very much, and it's kind of helped by the fact that like Michael Biehn like threw himself in, and same with Linda Hamilton, especially in 2. Like Linda Hamilton really threw herself into the role of Sarah Connor in T2, and just absolutely made it an iconic role because like she is nuts in T2.
Yeah, the drastic change from the first one movie, where she's just
Yeah.
a normal schmuck in the first one, and
Yeah,
that's
being-
sort of the point.
Yes, like she's a waitress, which is a difficult job that sucks hard. I think there's a genuine attraction, but I think that part of it, I do think that his death is really tragic, and he does love her. But I think he's got the picture of her. He's been worshiping this picture for most of his life. He's not really in love with her. He's in love with more the idea of her. Would anybody disagree with that, or is that
Nope.
accurate?
I would say that's
Probably
pretty
not,
accurate.
because it's pretty clear that he hero worships John Connor, and that sort of extends to her.
Mm-hmm. And she's kind of like seems like she's in love, at least very much attracted to him because he's protecting her and saving her life and is willing to risk his life for her, which is something that nobody else has ever done for her.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was implication that John Connor knew, but Kyle Reese didn't until he got back there.
Well, they actually do confirm that in in Salvation, but that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever do the Terminator sequel since they're.
Since they don't
No.
exist.
Yeah.
I'm not ruining the movie. I'm just pointing out how it is.
Yeah, no matter how you cut it, Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor is a little weird. Because, I mean, this guy you're basically serving with, he's like your brother in arms, and then you realize that he's your son.
But yeah, it's very, very likely that John knew
That's some
all
Jerry
along,
Springer
but
shit.
Kyle did.
Oh, I think it's 100% true that because Sarah told him everything.
Even if you just go by this movie, it's
Yeah.
very likely that John knew.
Yeah, and like he deliberately sent his dad back in time. so
His
that
dad,
he could-
quote unquote.
Yeah, because that kind of actually leads us into the time travel philosophy. It's more like a philosophy more than like the mechanics. The mechanics are the same in both, but the mechanics are at least the philosophy. In Terminator 1, the time travel works as a closed loop. The Terminators try to send the Terminators goes back in time to kill John Connor. John Connor sends back his dad, and because of the time travel loop, John Connor is conceived by Kyle and Sarah getting together, and then they go off, and then because of that, Sarah leaves pregnant with John, and from there she can train him to be the savior of the world and just basically give him all the information about the future war that he needs in order to win.
Quite literally, the past and future dad.
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I would like to see a why I'm wrong.
Landon. No.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of T2, and kind of it's the time travel philosophy of everything that has happened can and will happen, I believe, is how it's put. Maybe it's more like, since I can't remember like the exact phrasing, but it's like can and has happened because it's just a closed loop. Like the timeline will keep going because everything that has happened has already happened. And so you can't really change the past. You can just keep it going.
Making it the only kind of time travel I can logically put up with.
Yep. When you start changing things, that's when things go crazy.
You mean really, really bad, really quickly?
If timelines can
yes.
change, then stakes evaporate.
Yeah.
And if stakes don't exist, a story gets really bad, really quickly.
And plus, if stakes don't exist, I am not becoming a vegan. I'm committing suicide.
I do love steak. And I just barely bought a bunch of it since my family's off in Iceland. I'm just like, cool. I have stuff to do. Yay.
More steaks for me.
I think the whole thing about changing the timeline, I think you have to make a very specific context for when it works and when it doesn't. It's like in Avengers Endgame, to just sort of say, okay, you can change pretty much anything and it won't affect the past, the future past, whatever that we came from.
I could write an essay about how bollocks the time travel was in Endgame.
Funnily enough, that's actually supposed to be the most scientifically accurate version of time
Bullshit.
travel. But
No.
anyway,
Commando
if you
once.
compare that to, say, X-Men Days of Future Past, it's like, okay, we have to change the past or we're all dead. That's a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, Noble Commando wants to. I'll bring him on only for like 15 for like the
We're gonna
end of
get
this.
crowded.
Well,
Just
it'll just be for a little bit, since like he wants to debate me on the subject of it being a genuine romance. I don't think there's anything not genuine about it. I just think that he's in love with the idea of Sarah Connor more than he's in love with Sarah Connor.
Yeah, my thought is it's more weird from a meta perspective. Or at least from an outsider's perspective.
All right.
Well, anyway, the time travel, for instance, in Sound of Thunder, is you get looped into a loop, and then once you are like sent 2 minutes before something is happening or something like that, and then everything that you have done that is not correct will be erased afterwards. So if you stepped on a bug, then the biomaterial disintegrator will, erase it off your suit. But the problem was there was a greedy guy who was like, "Nah, we don't need it. Turn it off for today." And then the whole shit happened to the world changing bit by bit because somebody stepped on a butterfly. It's quite fun.
And then there's Looper, where it just doesn't make any sense.
Oh
That's
yeah,
because-
that movie.
And there's
Holy
literally a
shit.
line in the movie where they say, "Stop thinking about it."
Yeah.
That movie was
Looper by Ryan Johnson?
Yeah,
Yes,
Looper's
it
Ryan
That
was.
explains
Johnson.
entirely too much.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
By the way, if you want me to explain why it doesn't make sense, I can.
Go for
Well,
it.
was it not that he got killed by himself or something like that in the end?
It has something to do with that. So, okay. The idea behind the movie is that there are these mobsters called loopers that at some point in the future, the mafia sends people back in time that they want dead so that there won't be any evidence.
Yeah, because the death pet, like killing people, has been outlawed or something.
Yeah. So the mobsters who kill them are called loopers, and eventually their own future selves get sent back in time to be killed. And this is called the closing of the loop. So our main character, Joe, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is one of the loopers, and eventually he encounters his own future self, played by Bruce Willis, who manages to escape him. And he goes after this kid named Sid, who in the future is going to become a figure called the Rainmaker, who is able to control the criminal underworld with his telekinetic powers.
Huh.
So eventually, Joe, meaning young Joe, sacrifices himself and kills himself to get rid of his older self. But this creates a pretty big plot hole, because the implication is that the death of Sid's mother at the hands of old Joe is what leads him to become the Rainmaker. So then you have two options. Either Joe survives and goes on to become a mobster who then gets killed by the Rainmaker, or Joe is dead, so he can't be sent back in time. Whoops. You wrote yourself into a corner where literally nothing is possible.
Yeah, let me bring in normal commando. We'll only go for like 15 minutes, since it's probably going to be quick.
Hello.
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 Hi.
So,
Okay. I actually wrote a paper about the Terminator, and I did put a lot of focus on kind of like the dynamic between Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese, because I thought like that was just such a critical like part of the movie, because I feel like I don't know, you said like that he's more in love with the idea of her. Like I feel like if that was the case, then I feel like that would be kind like, I feel like he would kind of lose interest in that. It's like, because like you gotta like remember that like all of that Kyle Reese knows is basically war and survival. So he doesn't like kind of understand like normal real life. And if he was more in love with the idea of her than the actual of her, then he probably wouldn't put up with it as much, and he'd probably be like he probably would just like kind of like lose interest and say, yeah, I'm still gonna protect you and all, but like, yeah, I don't love you anymore, kind of like that kind of. But like I feel like he still, even after he gets to know her, and like he still has those feelings though. Like, so to me, I just think, like,
never meet your heroes.
Yeah, because like, yeah, even
because what does he really know about her other than she is the mother of Sarah Connor? Is my question.
Mother of John Connor.
Mother of John Connor.
Well, I mean,
sorry.
I don't know. Like, I'm more basing it off of just kind of like the interactions they have and like how they kind of like talk to each other that it does seem like it's not just like casual like conversation. It does like I don't know. There does seem to be like chemistry there, and that's kind of what I'm like. And it's not just.
Well,
like,
I think we all think that there is some sort of mutual attraction there, at least.
Well, it's mainly like his attraction to her is based in the fact that he's had this picture and he's been staring at it for most of his life, and like that's his initial attraction to her. She's attracted to him because he is a very passionate man who is trying to protect her, and they're in a and kind of that usual like stressful situation brings people together type thing. But and they do have chemistry. That's definitely true. It's just a matter of their relationship is more just a necessity thing, and he's attracted to he is attracted to her, but I think the Terminator 2 is good, but the time travel mechanics of Terminator 2 are kind of weird. Once you get on the ride, it's really good, but it's kind of just you have to kind of think, oh, so this kind of opens up a couple of can of worms, but it still works as a film. So, but I guess like why is it bad that like he's kind of the assertion that he's in love with kind of the idea of her, and that's kind of the basis initially. I don't think that like since he isn't really with her long enough to become disillusioned with the idea of her, or since it's only like a few days, and like he's a very passionate man who sticks around and does will do whatever he can because he's made himself into a human Terminator, or tried to, where I
mean, presumably it is to some extent an extension of his hero worship of John. So it's a quasi hero worship of her.
Yeah, but then you do that, it makes it seem weird, and it does it like when you think of it like that. That's what makes it seem weird, is when you're thinking of it like that way. You don't think of it as he actually does love her, and that's why you're ruining it.
So what?
So I want to be able to watch this movie and enjoy it, and I can't do it now thanks to you.
You're welcome.
That sounds like a you
being
problem.
being in love with the idea of somebody versus being in love with them isn't too much of a change. It's just perspective. Like
well, I mean, but like I don't know. If you say the idea of her, like, oh yeah, she's the mother of the future, like, but like he kind of quickly does realize that she's not like that, at least not yet, and like. But he's like, he still does love her though. Like he still like has those feelings, even though because he like meets the real Sarah Connor, and I guess he like kind of grows to love that as well.
True, but they're not around each other like long enough to build like a super deep emotional connection. It's mainly just a relationship of necessity.
And that's kind of like that's part of the tragedy of it, is that it is a short-term relationship. That it probably if things could have been better, it probably could have been like a good relationship, but it was tragically cut short, and that's part of the beauty of that movie.
I would concur with that. Yes,
like
I would concur with that. Yeah,
like you're just being like, oh, it's so weird that like it's like, yeah, no, it's just like. You're just like thinking it's like, oh yeah, it's like, yeah, no, the soldier mom is like hot, and then it's like, and then Sarah just thinks like, oh yeah, it's like this guy from the future that I just met is really hot. It's just, when you think of it like that, it just seems weird. But it's like when I don't know, like the way I think of it, like the way my idea, it's just better. And now you're that
It's less compelling if you just say, oh, they're attracted to each other.
Yes, and you just think of it like that, and you're just like, oh, that's just that's what you're trying to. That's what, and then that yeah. When you're just saying it like that, it just seems weird, and it's just kind of like I don't know, like makes it seem less.
See, there's the guy loves the picture of the woman, but he sees the woman as the picture and not as the woman herself.
I don't think that's the case, because I feel like, because again, like, you gotta remember, like, I don't know, they didn't spend a lot of time together, but it was long enough so that Kylo Reese can get a general idea of what she's like, and he kind of realizes, like, that, like, normal in this world is completely different than normal or like normal in this timeline is completely different than like normal in his original timeline. So, but he kind of like, I guess, grows to appreciate and love that as well.
But don't forget, love can be blind. So even if you just only love the picture of the woman, and not you meet a woman that is a picture, but it is like it has still distancing inside of the relationship. So, as Dunn said, it is a necessity, not love, which makes it more sad if you think of it.
Why is it more sad if it's just a necessity? It's like, oh, we have to have sex just because we need to have John Connor, and who else is going to be the father of John Connor?
I don't think that was the idea of it, though.
I think that it's very much like it's very much a like. I think they're definitely in the heat. They're kind of the heat of a passionate honeymoon stage in the midst of a terrible situation when they have sex. Like,
it just seems weird though that when you think of it like just like this kind of like, oh, we have to do this for survival, and everything is doing for survival, and we have to fall in love for survival. Oh, for the survival of the human race, nothing else. It's just seems weird.
Maybe we changed.
Yeah,
I don't know.
possibly.
I feel like part of the beauty of it is like I feel like part of the theme of the Earth, like part of the theme of the original Terminator is like that's part of what makes humanity is like that kind of like ability to make like those strong bonds and relationships and family. That kind of is part of the theme of Terminator, and when you just take that out of the equation, that falls apart.
Well, the bond is there, but I think Dunn's contention is that it's not a matter of they love each other.
Yeah, but you just kind of like it. I don't know, but like I don't know. Especially it like doesn't make sense in like the Terminator 2, like because they kind of expand upon these themes of like family and like kind of like that kind of like pair bonding and like relationships because like it doesn't just focus on like because in the original movie it just focused on the relationship between Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese and that kind of like. But then it kind of like and then Terminator 2, it's kind of like the relationship between Sarah Connor and her son John Connor, and they also kind of focuses on the relationship between the Terminator, the T-800, and John Connor, and then kind of the Terminator, almost kind of functioning as this like stand-in for a father figure, and like there's even a scene where like Sarah kind of realizes that the machine like is
more of a dad.
Like it does actually is actually a pretty good father figure because like of this like being able to restrain and he doesn't like he's not going to be abusive or anything because it is a logical machine that doesn't like is programmed to just protect John Connor like no matter the cost.
That gave me another thought. Float this by you. You know the hand, the prop that they keep trying to toss around and get away from whichever corporation before they can turn it into Skynet, that can be thought of as Skynet's father. Because it's that technology that they used to make Skynet.
Yeah, and T2, yeah. I don't think that it's necessarily they're getting together because of necessity. They're not thinking it's not like Genesis where it's just a matter of you bang and then make John Connor you're supposed to. In this one, it's more like they fall into each other's arms because they're stressed and they have that immediate connection and that immediate chemistry. But I'm just kind of making the contention that Kyle Reese as a person has intentionally somewhat dehumanized himself because he needed to, because of the war state. And Sarah Connor was the only bit of humanity that he really had, the one like ideal that existed in a horrible blasted world. And when he sees that, he really doesn't see her in her natural element. He sees just kind of her as the savior of the world rather than as a person. He sees her as a figure of adoration that he
I don't know,
slowly
but-
falls in love with.
So like, I guess like I don't know. I don't like. I just like. So I just don't know. Like like I don't know how you see that. What evidence do you have to support that?
Mainly, it's the picture, as well as kind of the fact they spend very little time with it, and kind of the fact that like he is like I would die for John Connor, kind of just the passionate way that he talks, and just the fact that he doesn't really like get to know her as a person. He sees her as an idealized figure based on what I can see.
But he does kind of get to know her as like a person. Like that. Like that's the whole point of their interactions. Is that
I
how
feel
they
like
get
we're
to know
going in
people.
circles here.
Yeah, we are.
A little bit, yeah.
It's only a loophole.
Because you're. Because okay, maybe it's because we're both wrong, and like maybe it's a little bit of both.
Could be. I think that they definitely like have love for each other, but I think that an element of at least some measure of like, since he's known about her for most of his life and she's just barely getting to know him, and like there's that immediate chemistry, and I think that she likes him because he's a passionate man, and also like he's risking his life to save her, in even though like she doesn't see herself as important, and he sees her as the most important thing in the world. And I imagine like she would be very intensely attracted to that, and he's attracted to
Sarah
her as
to
well.
Kyle, I get. It's the Kyle to Sarah that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's because we
because-
don't
But, I
know
mean-
anything about what Kyle was like before the war, because Kyle wasn't anything before the war. What is Kyle in his natural state?
Mhm. It's mainly just like the fact that he has the picture of Sarah Connor and has been worshiping it that kind of influences my perspective. And admittedly, it's somewhat vague, and I'm kind of reading into it a little bit. But that's kind of from what I can see, that's kind of what like seems to be there. Like
I
could
mean,
be wrong.
you also kind of assume that like yeah, sure that picture, but like they don't really like. You could like. I'm pretty sure that John Connor would like talk about his mother, like if like Kyle asked ever, like tell her like or tell Kyle Reese like
We're
stories
playing
about
the insurance game at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Yeah, okay.
hard.
Yeah, if Dunn is gonna assume things, then I can assume things too.
Which we're not going to do anymore because we're going to be here for
Yeah.
20 hours going back and forth.
Yeah. But I think that this was a good conversation. Thank you for coming on, Noble.
One more thing.
No
Noble.
problem.
What? I saw your comment in the notifications, but my video doesn't show it. Like,
oh, really? That's weird.
like I get notifications like, oh, this person commented on your video, but then when I go to the video, it's not there.
I've had that happen once before.
That's a settings thing that you need to change, because sometimes like with YouTube, like it has a filter, puts a filter up where you could kind of like, where if something could be considered as offensive, it just auto kills it, and you have to manually make it so that all comments can come up.
Offensive. Like, have you seen my videos?
Yeah, since I know that like I think like Becca put a comment in the chat that I am considering committing murder when I was talking about her and Tarek playing Quentin Tarantino and Salma Hayek from Dusk Till Dawn.
I've written several comments in chats that seemingly are flagged for no other reason than the length.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, that's thank you for coming on. Do you have anything you'd like to pimp before you head out, Noble?
Well, later tonight I'm doing a Spartan cast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What's the topic?
It's going to be about some guy who basically thinks that Halo ruined FPS games, which is not true.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Alrighty.
Doom is
Yeah,
ruined
and
at
but also I'd just like to say that Looper, I've seen that, and I think it is proof that Rian Johnson is a hack, and it's not just The Last Jedi that was bad, because, it's a Star Wars movie, but if you just watch Knives Out, like, you would realize, this Rian Johnson's actually a really good writer and director, you just didn't like it because it's Star Wars, and he's not very good at writing Star Wars. No, I've seen Looper. That movie was just bad, and, like, it just brings in, like, telekinesis out of nowhere, and it makes no sense, and it's just stupid.
And Knives Out is a mess, and the plot reveals are stupid, and just as like I've had to describe the mechanics of the plot of Knives Out to Smud because he's refused to see it. But we've seen a couple of Knives Out videos, and I've had to explain the mechanics of the plot, and I'm just like, this is like a parody movie. It's like a stupid parody of murder mysteries played straight, kind of like how The Last Jedi is a parody movie of all Star Wars movies played straight. Like, that seems to be Brian Johnson's oeuvre.
That seems to be a style. It's just making a parody but playing it straight.
Yeah, and it kind of just creates I just have to, if I were to ever watch Knives Out, I would have to like manually keep my hand on the switch that turns my brain off for 2 hours and just like keep turning it off. Otherwise I would be like, this doesn't make any sense. Okay, just turn off your brain, just enjoy the semi funny dialogue, I guess, because it's somewhat entertaining. Like, the acting's good, but it's not terribly funny.
It's like The Last Jedi, where they added Yo Mama jokes, and you're just like, you kind of just laugh out of just, why is this here? This is bad.
But Yo Mama jokes is so good.
At least it's not Transformers 2, where you have, or Transformers 1, where you have the two parents talking about their son's masturbation habits.
I can't believe I don't know. I can't believe about how much of the stuff that I missed as a kid when I watched those movies.
Yeah, you don't. It's so weird that like you just forget like the dogs humping twice, and they even draw attention to that with a line. Mojo,
and I remember was there like the fat guy in the thong in 2?
Yeah.
Oh, that was gross. And we did not need to see that.
You're welcome, folks, for seeing. Michael Bay subjected us to that, and we subjected to you. It's a trickle down of terror.
How does it feel to be old?
Yeah,
enough to watch
going
the
back
franchises go down in
to
flames?
Ryan Johnson and Looper, there is a literal scene in that movie where Bruce Willis says, "Stop thinking about the time travel." Even though the time travel is like super important.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So thank you very much for your time, Noel Commando. We'll see you later.
Ciao.
All right, talk to you later.
See you later. Cool. That was a good, healthy debate, I think.
Oh, I know. I kind of just clocked out for the most of it.
Yeah, travel. Yeah. But kind of after the time travel, kind of the interesting thing about like Terminator's a horror movie, and the first Terminator is a horror movie. The first 15-20 minutes is devoted to the Terminator finding Sarah Connors using the
phone
book in order to just try and find her and kill her, and he just goes down the list. And the fact that this thing is this unstoppable killing machine, whereas our two heroes are these flesh and blood people.
Also, the fact that this machine is actually competent, which is shocking for like modern standards.
Kind of, yeah. A little bit.
It kills like a machine does.
Yeah, with brutal efficiency.
And like logic that has no grasp of common sense.
Yeah. And
it didn't think to verify which Sarah Connor before it left. That's That is actually a believably machine thing to do.
Yeah, it's being systematic. It's just making sure that it kills all of the Saraconians just to make sure.
Yeah, and he does know her general vicinity, and then he just goes for it. And when they explode the truck, the only thing, he's damaged a little bit, but he's still coming at them. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it's one of the reasons. I think.
Hello, Dark Fate.
Yeah, Dark Fate has this problem.
Dank fart.
Yeah, Terminator. Yeah. Thankfully, Terminator Dark Fate gave me an idea for a sword name, because Dark Fate's actually a cool name. It just wish there was attached to a better movie. I haven't seen it, but I haven't heard any good things about it other than from School of Movies, and School of Movies' opinion is to be mostly discounted.
Oh, Dark Fate? You mean like remember when I showed you the intro yesterday?
Yeah.
After we got done watching G2. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah.
Yes, the intro to Terminator Dark Fate.
Yeah.
Where John Connor literally just gets fucking shotgun blasted in the face in the first 5 seconds. Right after rewatching the entire movie about saving John Connor.
Yeah.
Well, that made 2 kind of pointless, but then again, Dark Fate doesn't exist, though. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I should note there is. They actually have a plot point about not being able to track digitally. So old Sarah Connor keeps her phone in a bag of chips. And
Old
that's
Sarah
supposed
Connor
to
had a phone?
Yes. And she keeps it in a bag of chips to prevent it from being tracked.
Okay, let's stop talking about movies that don't exist.
Yeah. We'll eventually have to visit the alternative timeline, maybe. Just like we had to visit the alternative timeline with the sequels.
Wait, there's an alternative timeline where the sequels don't suck?
There's an alternate timeline where the sequels don't exist.
Oh yeah, School of Movies loves Dark Fate. They also love Birds of Prey. Like they love Birds of Prey.
No.
They love The Last Jedi too, remember?
Yep. They love Force Awakens, like a lot.
They think Rise of Skywalker is okay.
Alright, that's it.
Now I have my
OST
flashbacks of this.
soundtrack intensifies.
What?
I wonder what they think of the Twilight movies.
That's
They think they're fine. They think they're
You should
fine.
have seen the.
Yeah, really. They did a whole 2 streams. Oh, you're gonna be there for a long time. It's an hour and a half, probably 2 hours long, where they talk about how much they love that movie.
I will commit murder. No.
Trust me. You know what's even worse? The fucking wheel of fandom.
Yeah, the wheel of fandom. Yeah. Yeah. That
No, is it that bad?
It's kind of meh, and then on the other side it's quite meh, and then meh, and then you have obsession and love, hatred, and really likable.
Well, let me actually find.
It's so stupid.
Let me actually find it, because this is kind of what we're talking about. Basically, go into it, and I think at one point they talked about indifference and kind of how it relates to trans rights as opposed to fandom.
It was so bad.
Yeah, this is what they're talking about.
No, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, the Wheel of Time fandom. I think partially they don't want anybody to get triggered by that word, because apparently,
because they're a bunch of bitches.
That, or they there are people that have had that happen to them and they prefer not to trigger them if that has actually happened to said person.
Okay, that is honestly pretty understandable.
Yeah. So but yeah, this is kind of like, and kind of the first bit was like they don't even talk about indifference as it relates to fandom. It's like, it's more like indifference as it relates to human rights and how that can be dangerous. And it's just like, what does this have to do with the topic at hand?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I don't get that picture. It's like school movies doesn't know what a spectrum is. It's like I'm thinking that it's like things
no,
on
they
two
don't.
opposite sides are supposed to be opposite of each other, but they're not. They really aren't.
Yeah, School of Movies has no idea what a spectrum is.
They wouldn't even know what movies are. Or
No,
a good
It's
movie.
like, this is like the Yoda line from the Phantom Menace. Like, fear leads to anger, blah blah blah. You can put those in any order.
Yeah.
It's like-
Yeah.
Anger
that-
will lead to fate.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's kind of like, but I think like any other any other thoughts on like the horror aspects of
Yeah.
Terminator 1?
Yes.
Could it not also be a thriller?
Thriller, yeah, it's definitely. I think like horror thriller is probably a good.
Define thriller.
Okay.
That is a hard word to define, same as horror. I believe a thriller is making sure that the atmosphere is right and creating these tangible moments that keep you on your edge of your seat.
So
I believe that is the word thriller.
So like Lovecraft, what Lovecraft Light is to Lovecraft, thriller is to horror.
Yes, probably.
So there's actually a difference between. There's a slight difference between horror and thriller. So a horror is. I'm looking this up on Google, and people can say like Google's conservative bias, and I'm just like, I don't care. Sometimes
Google is a conservative.
well, yeah, bias.
Google
against
is sometimes really right, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. Like kind of that kind of conspiracy theory. I kind of have a hard time with that. Kind of taking that seriously, just because like I don't believe in conspiracy theories like that. Same with anti-vaxxer stuff.
Anyway.
Yeah. So horror is the seemingly inevitable, predictable doom where the climax of the movie is either get away or stopping the evil, whereas thrillers are all about a tension-filled story that's not predictable.
I don't buy the horror definition.
Okay.
Because that horror definition could also apply to any MCU movie. It's all about defeating the bad guy.
That's true.
Yeah, true.
See, this is why it's important that we define our terms.
Yeah.
But if you would go for the thriller definition, I think it is actually quite logical. You can put it into the Terminator movie then, if you go for that definition.
Mm-hmm.
The same as Jurassic Park. That is also a thriller, because it is quite unpredictable where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what I find fascinating about Terminator from a horror perspective is the role of the police in that movie, because they're all thinking of like, okay, this guy's not actually a cyborg from the future. He's just hopped up on ass loads of drugs and wearing a bulletproof vest. And so it's like there are plausible explanations, and it's if you like put a mental block around the fact that Terminator is a franchise in your head, then it really starts and can actually like sort of see the old movie for the first time, then you can start thinking that maybe Sarah Connor is getting a little nuts. Maybe none of this future robot crap really is real. Maybe it is explainable through plausible means.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's not. But
I must say that it is actually logical for people in that time of year. Like, yeah, he wears just a bulletproof vest. Come on, it is possible for a police person to see a person not die from bullet shots. Of course, people in that time of year is like, yeah, he's not gonna go down. All right, well then we shoot even more, which they do, and then they eventually get their ass kicked.
Yeah, they did. They're the best Jedi righted by fans is hilarious in many respects. I think I think
Yeah,
Replica,
that was hilarious.
yeah, I think Replica and Von Nostra and White Dragon died laughing when I said, "Are you psychic?" Replica Films.
Oh yeah,
That was really
great.
funny.
Yeah. But yeah, any other thoughts on Terminator as a horror movie before we move into
Nah.
T2?
No.
Okay. Now we go into Terminator, any behind the scenes, because there's some interesting stuff behind the scenes. We talked a little bit about it, but this is kind of one example. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually like during the scene where he's operating on the Terminator's eye. Arnold Schwarzenegger has been using this puppet of himself and is putting like the razor near the eye and doing all of the operation stuff on it. It's really neat.
That is actually quite cool. Not even CGI, just a puppet.
Oh,
Nice.
by the way, they got his eyebrows got burned off during production.
Really, I didn't know
And
that.
if you watch the cop chase scene, he doesn't have his eyebrows anymore.
Huh. Cool. I do know like James Cameron was like just filming all over the place without permits in order to try and conserve as much money as he could.
Yeah, so you literally have a scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually walking down the street naked.
Yeah.
Wow, that would not fly anymore.
No, it would
But it's hard not to fly when you don't know that it's there.
It's a propeller.
Macho man. Everybody is gonna be the macho man. Oh, this reminds me so much of the old memes that movie produced. Such a great memes.
Yep. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah, there's some good stuff here. We'll kind of talk about more about the behind the scenes of Terminator 1. Like I know that like the ending, they actually produced the death of the Terminator in a really clever way. What they did was they had a flashlight lighter and a red flashlight and a smoke thing, along with the crusher and the little robot arm. Other than that, like there was nothing, and it's just kind of funny that it kind of just like it's so impressive, like just how shoestring this was, but it still looks great. It is really creative. Anybody have any tidbits of the behind the scenes of this movie that they want to talk about?
Oh,
Not
the fact that
really.
they actually made the T-800 exoskeleton out of steel. That was an accident.
Yeah, that's really honestly super cool.
Wait, they made
So
it fully out of steel? Damn, nice.
And it wasn't supposed to be out of steel because they were supposed to use it for the scene. That's why the scene, like how it looks very stop motiony.
Mm-hmm.
It was supposed to use like a really light, weak metal for the exoskeleton, so they can actually move it around. But I guess the guy who made it accidentally used real steel, and so they couldn't actually move it around very well. It was very heavy and clunky.
Oh yeah, man. Imagine it was. Yeah, it does. It doesn't look like a low budget movie. It's kind of like it kind of when you compare it to something like the first Mad Max movie. The first Mad Max movie is definitely a like very cheaply made movie that doesn't really like have a lot of budget to it. However, it probably because like it's in Australia, it doesn't look as high budget as like middling budget as this does.
Yeah, it's like if you know what to look for, you can kind of sort of, not literally, but sort of hypothetically see the wires, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's kind of
so you can tell
or how
a lot
there are certain things where you can kind of tell that the effects are dated, like the eye in that scene, or the very stop motion emotion of the endoskeleton, as it's apparently called in the climax. But for the most part, yeah, this doesn't look fake.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we move to Terminator 2?
Not exactly.
All right.
No.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Arguably one of the greatest action movies of all time. I would say so. I still like Mad Max Fury Road more because Mad Max Fury Road is just insane, and maybe I kind of like it a little bit more now that I've been kind of getting into Doom 2016.
What does Mad Max Fury Road have to do with Doom 2016? Don't actually answer that. I'm just thinking out loud.
Crazy aesthetic.
Maybe it's all the yellow sand. Whatever. Anyway.
But I must say though, Mad Max did the whole desert theme of it. The whole apocalyptic desert theme is actually quite nice. I don't know, the aesthetics of it and the way of how the world should work when that happens. It is still one of my favorite kind of themes to look into and fantasize about.
Anybody who says that is just stupid. It's pretty good. I think it's close, but like Free Road just has it has two equal male and female protagonists, but honestly, like the fact that like the women are cargo kind of makes it so that nah, this ain't woke.
It's woke with plausible deniability.
Yeah, it has a large number of female characters, and it has an actually good arc for one of the male protagonists. And like a lot of people who are woke like it because they can see woke crap in it. But honestly, like I just see it like Furiosa's like Ellen Ripley or Sarah Connor.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not like a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. It's more like she's a desperate woman trying to get out of a bad situation.
Not having seen it, I'm extremely skeptical. No one talks of a movie that much unless it's actual dog shit.
Really? Huh.
That's my theory. It must be bad because people won't shut up about how good it is.
Okay.
I just like
I will probably not shut up about how good Into the Spider-Verse is, but that movie is really good.
That's just your opinion, bro.
Yeah, this is 5 minutes before we're about to shit on Terminator 2, so.
Well, the time travel mechanics are kind of just like, yeah. Time travel is just like it opens up some problems with the movie because it's supposed to be a movie where it's just so why couldn't they send the Terminator in first rather than Kyle Reese? And kind of the answer is they didn't think about it. So
it's because the writers didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
should we maybe talk about the really sketchy time travel contradictions in this movie?
Yeah, let's go with that. Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so they establish in the first movie, and we've already mentioned this, that the time travel was a last resort by Skynet because they were just about to lose. They also established that when you travel back, you need to, even if you're metal, you need to have human tissue around you, and that's why the Terminator has it. This sort of raises the implication of, okay, can you pack a gun into a skin bag? But that's a bit of a separate discussion. But
And how the T-1000 got back when it has no human skin, technically.
Yeah. So it raises two questions. One, how did the T-1000 get sent back? And two, how did it get sent back when it has no human tissue?
Well,
What I want to know is why Skynet made a time travel machine with that limitation.
Also, if you're gonna break your own damn rules of your universe, it will become less believable. So, the more you do it, the worse it gets. And that also explains how the time travel mechanic in the newer parts of the series are getting such, drawbacks.
Yeah, it's already a problem in Judgment Day, but it just becomes even more and more of a problem in the later movies because they just don't address it.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's
Not
it's
doing with
it's
that.
sketchy. Like these movies kind of gets kind of nutty after Terminator 2.
What
They
movie
should
after
have
Terminator 2?
They should have kept to the original idea of only one, of the original rules that they had, and then Skynet letting them send another Terminator instead of two. That way, it actually would have made more sense.
And the way it works, Steve 2 is just fine.
Yeah, there's kind of elements of there's like this doesn't quite work, but it's kind of like it's a contrivance to get yourself on the ride, and once you're there, the ride's pretty sweet, but the road up to the ride is kind of just a little bit sketchy in terms of how the mechanics work.
Yeah, it's like the mechanics were built around the notion of Terminator 2 being very, very sequel-y in the fact that a lot of people really loved Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator in the first movie, so they completely sort of missed the point and just make him the main hero. It's Wolverine effect.
Yeah, that's kind of I would actually agree with that. That kind of like they really wanted Arnold they really liked Arnold in the first one, and they made him the hero in the second one. That's very much the case here, and it does work very well. Like, and it kind of like it allows for changes in the idea of the mentality shift between the two movies, because the mentality shift in T1 from T2 is basically the shift of horror to action movie, and that's kind of the major two differences between these two movies in terms of how they're written, how they're constructed.
Maybe it's just
Actually, I'm
cynical
just
you
gonna
are as a
address
watcher.
something in the chat. Tyler Preston, why don't Skynet create a Terminator whose arms transform into a gun? They kind of explain it by saying that a gun is a really complex mechanism. So even with the technology of the liquid metal, it can't be done.
Yeah, it's like, strictly speaking, it could turn into a gun. The problem is it couldn't turn it into the ammo.
Yeah.
And it can't make gunpowder out of thin air.
Yeah. Yeah. It's able only to change into people because it's able to change the viscosity of its metal skin.
Yeah, isn't it like nanomachines or something?
Yeah, it's like nanomachines or something. There's no biology involved.
Which oddly makes it more high-tech than Terminator 3.
Yeah, Terminator 3 is essentially just a is like what, endoskeleton with biology shoved in or something like that. Is that how it works? I can't remember how T3 works because T3 is an abysmal, stupid comedy movie that's got a Terminator skin.
And don't get me started on what it does to the time travel.
Oh yeah.
By the way, I don't remember Shia LaBeouf being in any of the Terminator sequels.
No, he's not.
Space Junk is in the chat. How many Terminator sequels are there?
Liquid-
I don't think there's
liquid-
anyone with
well,
Shia
liquid
LaBeouf.
metal nanomachines. Liquid metal nanomachines. Not. What? I can't see.
No, how many Terminator sequels are there? Wait, you can't see it?
No, I can't.
No, I can see it just fine.
Huh.
How
I
many
have-
Terminator sequels are there? I kind of forgot.
Damn you!
I remember the
Why
one
not
with the
nanomachines?
Shia LaBeouf, one with the protagonist, the Terminator, and one with the human leader of the humans is a Terminator? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
So
And the
so
latest
it's,
one where John Connor gets blasted in the beginning.
Okay, so it's just so the T-1000 in Terminator 2 describes it as composed of liquid metal or a mimetic polyalloy / nanorobotics.
Oh, case closed then.
Mm-hmm.
Womp womp.
So that's as far like, and that's kind of the only like liquid metal. Like, where does it keep its central processor? If it's liquid metal, like it would have to have some kind of processor unit. It makes more sense that there's like a bunch of small nanomachines that act as its processor unit that connect to each other.
Or if it's like an ad hoc sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't Shia LaBeouf. It just kind of looks like Shia LaBeouf.
Done.
I think Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles. What's up?
I need to go.
Oh, okay. Okay.
there's
I'll
like-
see you later.
No.
Have a nice day. All.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Mm-hmm. And then like kind of from there, like we kind of just, the problem is kind of just, why didn't they send this guy first rather than the truck Terminator? Yeah.
I guess that goes to the theory of the. I don't know how we're going to be doing this.
And yes, Robert Patrick played the T-1000, and he did it really well.
Yeah. Actually, honestly, like the first movie I ever saw, I can't remember the first thing I like legit saw Robert Patrick in. But I do remember seeing him in From Dusk Till Dawn. I might have seen him like some in the From Dusk Till Dawn series. He played the Harvey Keitel character. And he did a really good job, I have to say. I really like Robert Patrick in that role.
Yeah, and in this one, he has a little behind-the-scenes commentary where he mentions how he trained himself to shoot without blinking to appear more robotic.
That's actually really impressive.
Very nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
everybody who learns to shoot needs to do that. I can speak from experience there.
That makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense, yeah. But I think like he that's actually funny, yeah. Yeah, Nick Stahl is in Terminator 3, I believe.
Yeah, he is.
And like a lot of people hate that version of John Connor, as far as I'm aware, because he's terrible.
Yeah, I definitely remember not liking that version.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You can keep watching. We like this movie. We're just kind of like looking at the time travel mechanics, and we're just like, there's some things about this that don't quite make sense, but we're still like, this is enjoyable. And it's fun. And it's a great action movie, and there's great characters. Which, speaking of which, like they definitely like Sarah Connor. Basically, like it's kind of funny that like people say that James Cameron kind of has a soldier mom fetish. Would you guys agree with that, or do you think that is wrong?
Honestly, I think he was just sort of like knocking off Alien.
Yeah.
That sort of thing was popular at the time.
Mm.
And
It's
I don't necessarily think it's the soldier mom. It's like a very specific personality,
Yeah.
which is like very straightforward. Yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah, very straightforward, blunt, gun-toting woman.
Essentially, a mom who can dead.
Yeah, that's actually accurate. Yeah, that's actually not wrong. That's a good summation actually.
Apparently, that was a really popular trope. It's like cough, cough, Samus Aran. Which is why I say it's probably just a sign of the times rather than a specific fetish.
Please don't bring it back. I love how that's the automatic triggering thing. Oh,
Teach a Maggie to fish and
don't insult White's waifu. You gotta be kind to him.
I will hunt you down and kill you.
Oh come on! I arranged your marriage. It's very nice. I'm sure she'll be a lovely wife.
You know what? No Doom Eternal for you.
Well, you want to talk about it, so
characters.
So in this we get our good friend Sarah Connor as in kind of like the best Sarah Connor. Indisputably, Linda Hamilton's the best. And she'll like yeah, and I think like the worst is probably Daenerys as Sarah Connor. Would you guys agree with that?
Wait, what was that about Daenerys?
Daenerys Targaryen played Sarah Connor in Genesis.
Oh, the actress.
Yeah, Emilia Clarke.
I thought you were going to make a point about something killing everybody.
True.
Well, I mean, she kind of. Yeah.
I guess she was fine in it. I guess the main problem with Genesis is the fact the writing is awful. The writing is really freaking bad with Genesis.
I only heard what happened secondhand, and I feel bad for people who paid to see it.
Yeah, I got to see it for free. It's actually the first Terminator movie I watched.
I'm sorry, Dunn. I am so sorry.
Yeah, John Connor becomes a Terminator. Yeah.
How about we not talk about that?
And then Kyle Reese is played by Jai Courtney, one of the most uncharismatic actors ever to walk the face of the planet. Yeah. But we do have Sarah Connor, and she's different in this one, and she's very different. She's psycho. Like, she's got nuts, which I think is logical considering like what she's been through, that she's gone full crazy ripped soldier mom. And like Linda Hamilton like got into serious crazy shape for this movie. I think like one cool thing about it was that actually like is accurate. Like Linda Hamilton looks like a soldier. Like she convinces as somebody who is a soldier. Just like lady plays Ellen Ripley. I can't remember her name.
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver convinces as a workaday job worker. And it's kind of neat that kind of James Cameron's able to like very carefully pick his actresses to fit the roles that he wants them in, and does it pretty well usually. Avatar is kind of the outlier where it's kind of just an effects demo reel that looks good. At least that's my thoughts on Avatar. Like I don't really think, and kind of like unobtainium, really, Mr. Cameron.
See also Battle Angel Alita, hashtag unpopular opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, somewhat unpopular opinion, I imagine. But then you also have Edward Furlong as John Connor, and he's definitely like different than you would kind of imagine, but I don't think that like his development logic isn't logically consistent with the fact that he is a young man who has had his whole life planned out for him by a fate that he doesn't really want.
Again, I think it may just come down to how cynical you are as a viewer, because I plan to bring this up later. It's T2 is very kidified compared to T1.
Yes, the brutality is definitely toned down in other than a few specific moments in
The
T.
brutality, the sexual content, the anarchist cookbook stuff.
Anarchist.
Yeah, they literally built pipe bombs in the first movie.
Yeah, they built. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. T2 has T1 has a lot of T1 has they built like basically a terrorist group.
And the whole Terminator 2 thing of telling Arnold's character to not kill people.
Yeah, I swear that I would not kill anyone.
Bang, bang. He'll live. Which is a funny scene.
It is very amusing. I agree.
It's like Drax before Drax.
Why? Because you just can't.
Damn.
Because you just can't.
Because the movie's PG-13 this time. That's why.
Was it
like
PG-13?
I said, it comes down to how cynical you are as a viewer.
Was it PG-13? I thought it was rated R. Huh.
Was it? Look it up. It's definitely in the style of PG-13.
It is definitely, yeah, it feels very PG-13. Rating. It's rated R.
Bullshit. If it's an R-rated movie, it's a light R, and
Yeah,
it very much it's like trying to be in the mold of like the Jurassic Park movies, where it's like RoboCop also flirted with this to very, very sketchy effect.
Yeah, I think it's mostly for language and violence. That's kind of the reason why it was rated R.
Yeah, the violence of Arnold Schwarzenegger opening up on a whole horde of cops with a minigun and killing absolutely, literally no one.
Yeah, it's kind of the Shepard book mentality of the Bible's very explicit about killing, but it's somewhat fuzzier on the subject of kneecaps.
All right, we're probably gonna have to cap off this segment.
Yeah, probably. But it's kind of just the Terminator acts as a dad to John Connor in a way that like she's mostly gotten like soldier dads, like who have kind of not been the best dads in order to try and train John Connor. It's kind of the arc that they go on is kind of her overcoming her trauma over the fact that a Terminator tried to kill her and killed her baby daddy several decades ago.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of cut scenes and shit from the theatrical version that fleshed all this kind of stuff out more, which is kind of shame. It's like why do like they need to be theatrical cuts. Why can't it just be the full cut? Because obviously, like that's always tends to be the best version for the most part. Just don't talk about Snyder. I don't want to hear about that.
Except, yeah, Snyder's the exception that proves the rule, I think.
Sometimes the theatrical cuts can actually beat extended cuts because of superior pacing.
I would agree with that.
And
yeah.
Zach is not an exception to that rule.
I would definitely agree with that. Yes, that is a very good point.
What even is pacing?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to know what pacing is until you've seen it fucked
hold
up
on.
tremendously.
I was gonna talk about the T1000, how it's acts completely different from like the T800. How it acts more human when it needs to.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a. It acts more sociable.
Yeah.
Yeah, until it sort of turns on.
Yeah, it's.
John.
Yeah, and then when it turns on, it just kind of goes like.
Crush, kill, destroy, swag.
All right, I guess we can move on now.
Yeah, we'll move on. So, in terms of like characters, they're not very. I think one of the things about the characters of Terminator, they're not very complex. But I think like it bears noting, the time travel in this is slightly different. They're going with the idea that they're kind of going with there is no fate with what other than what you make it, and so since the humans decide we're going to stop Skynet from happening, so that we can end this conflict, which they do, and
yes.
Judgment Day
they
comes
do.
and passes, and Judgment Day comes and passes, especially if you believe the director's cut is canon, which we do. I would say like the themes of there are actually deep themes in this movie, like the fact that like you need to like human connection surpasses the fact that like these Terminator robots don't have any emotion, and Sarah Connor at one point becomes a Terminator when she is trying to kill Miles Dyson, the guy who is supposedly responsible for creating Skynet, but she can't bring herself to do it after she sees his family, Emily, and she just kind of like can't bring herself to do it, and even though like she's clearly like somewhat crazy, like she's definitely not all there, whereas like just a human being, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because it's just like
I would struggle to use the term deep theme though.
It's very simple, but it's well executed.
Yeah, I think deep. I hear deep theme. I think Lord of the Rings, where it's something like where the entire story is literally written around certain ideas.
It's more like kind of like there's a lot of ideas within Terminator that are executed well, but they're very simple ideas.
They're digestible, I guess you could call them. Whereas Lord of the Rings is something you chew for decades.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah, with
and
Tolkien,
that would be my definition of deep theme versus just normal theme.
Oh, so deep. All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Other than the time travel is basically they're trying to change the past, and from there, like we find out in the extended cut that he fought. Judgment Day came and went. Nothing happened. The world didn't end, and T3 and onward are irrelevant, and they are out of continuity. They don't work anymore. Good. So the main thing, like the action in T2 is amazing. Like,
yeah, it's the definition of an actionized sequel.
Yeah, where they kind of just like and just all the things that they did to get the action to what it was, just kind of like, wow. Like how they like got the truck under the like had to like get the motorcycle in between the truck before it slammed into the wall, and it's just they physically had to do that because otherwise it wouldn't have worked.
Jesus, they're crazy.
It's just
Imagine
kinda
David Benioff trying something like this. Like, no, like everybody would be dead.
Oh, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, everybody involved would be dead. Yeah, true. But I think like just little bits like the guns and the subtle guns and the not so subtle Guns and Roses thing where he's got shotgun in a thing of roses is just such a nice touch. And there's Guns and Roses playing throughout the movie, which is really cool. And then like the action in the Foundry is extremely well done, where you have all of our main characters going up against the T-1000 and the like just how like Sarah Connor alone isn't able to beat the monster. She has to have help from the Terminator to strike the final blow. Because like without the Terminator striking that blow, they would have lost. Where he blasts the T-1000 into the Foundry, and it kind of like if Sarah Connor had killed the thing, like hadn't run out of ammo, I think that the movie would be lesser for it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because it kind of like if she were able to kill it, it would have kind of rendered it. And even though like he was the thing that got her out, I think the fact that he is responsible for getting her out kind of makes the story stronger.
Yeah, it would kind of be weird because without that scene, the T-800, because you know, like the T-800 battle was the 1000. After he comes back to life, you're like, well, I guess he comes back to life and walks up and like, well, I guess that's it then.
Yeah, I guess like he just kind of pulls himself up and just drags himself around and then shoots the guy with a grenade launcher.
It's like it's very clearly the T-800's movie. And it's all framed around him, like I was talking about with like how they sort of reframed Terminator away from being about Sarah Connor to being about the Terminator. It's a question of whether or not that was a good choice.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
Obviously, it was an awful choice because the movie was very poorly received, obviously.
Yeah, the multiplier, it had a 5 times multiplier. It made way more than its predecessor. It was like $100 million budget and made like 500 million.
Like what's its total? Is that its total lifetime?
I don't think that's total lifetime. I think that was just initial run.
So I don't care too much how well it was received. A lot of terrible movies are received well, so that's my justification for ignoring that. Too many things come to mind to count.
Yeah, Transformers, Alien.
Well, actually, if you're going to argue if Sarah Connor would have done it, you realize that having the T-800 and T-1000 fight would kind of be moot. After it comes back to life, kind of just like, well, I guess I'm here now.
Yeah.
What strikes me most immediately is sort of the narrative necessity that the entire premise of that fight is that they have to destroy everything related to Terminator stuff and Skynet stuff, which includes the T-800. So logically, the T-800 has to win the fight in order for it to realize that it itself must be terminated as well if you want to prevent that future.
Yeah.
So that's what immediately leaps out to me. I'm going to have to think about that more, but that's just my initial thought.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of does create like a lack of tension. It kind of creates a slight like
it's an obligation.
Yeah, it's an obligation. Yeah, I do think that like it's interesting that.
Oh man, I was wrong. It was 1991 because I kept saying 93.
What,
Oh.
Terminator? Terminator 2?
Yeah. Yeah, Terminator 2 like has a lot of like different things working toward it, but it is definitely like kind of an actionized remake of its original premise.
Because the reason I brought that up, because isn't the Soviet Union still functioning by this point? By 91?
I think
no.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Soviet Union ended under Reagan. This would have been HW.
It dissolved in then December 26th, 1991. So yeah, because remember we were talking about like this the whole Skynet takes over part when the Terminator was talking to Sarah in the car. Like if the United States attacks launches nukes against the Soviets will attack back. Like yeah.
I think that was the initial point of why Skynet was created in the first place, to launch the nukes on its own. Sort of a war game scenario.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then just from there, I think there's kind of just not really. I don't know how much there is to really talk about with this, other than the action is great. And
we can. The action. We can like talk about the attention to detail, like the insane amount of attention to detail Cameron has.
Oh yeah, like the fact that like when Sarah Connor is trying to escape, like she unlocks the series, but like with the last one, she breaks the key off so that they can't follow her. Like that's an excellent little detail.
Or like like when Arnie gets before he gets his clothes, he throws that guy out the window and he lands on the windshield. And when he walks out, and he walks out, the guy's still on the windshield.
Yeah, he's still there, which is really funny.
Yeah, and people like when they run out of ammo, they actually reload their guns, and it isn't just this infinite ammo fucking gun.
And yet Sarah Connor can dive behind a file cabinet to avoid machine gun fire. So it's not totally perfect, but hey, Hollywood does not know shit about guns.
Yeah.
They never have, and they never will.
But if I like, you mean the chase? You mean the Cyberdyne scene?
Cyberdyne, that's the corporation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that because it's like those are MP5s and those are like 45s, so they're not terribly good at penetrating. So I wouldn't know because that cabinet was metal, so there could be some leeway there. Anyways,
there's also kind of little bits and pieces like when Linda Hamilton one arm cocks that shotgun.
I forgot one detail. The shells every time he shoots his shotgun, he pulls the lever, a blue shell falls out. And those are slug shells, if I remember correctly. Those are symbolizing for slugs.
Dang, that's crazy.
So every time he shoots the T-1000, he's actually shooting slugs at him. And that's heavy. Very heavy.
Oh, well, apparently, like, chairs are the weakness of vibranium, at least according to Falcon and Winter Soldier.
What?
You didn't hear that? Like somebody puts a
No,
chair
no,
up and
no,
they're
no. We're not
beefing?
gonna. We're not gonna go there.
Yeah, we won't. Yeah, that show's terrible. We won't talk about it. But yeah, that's any other thoughts before we kind of wrap up?
Oh, yeah. We can probably continue on like Cameron's obsession with detail.
Yeah, he's and he's kind of a dick on set a little bit, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, like I was talking about the '97 Titanic film, like how much insane he went with the details in that movie, like the props and everything, the time period props. And I remember the time when I showed you the one of the suites, like the cabin suites, and I showed you like how it actually looks on the ship and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he like did a really good job of recreate. He does a good job of like visually recreating a lot of stuff, and like with the practical effect of the T800's arm when it comes off, just the amazing practical effect of that is just amazing.
You wouldn't be able to tell you. Well, you see, that wasn't him acting. He actually ripped the skin off his arm. Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually a robot.
He is Sir Hootsman. Reference no one will get.
Probably not. I don't know. What is that from exactly?
The band Gloryhammer is kind of like this epic. They tell this big, long, epic fantasy story through all their albums, and it's about the generational battles between the good King Angus MacPhife versus the evil wizard Zargathrax, and one of MacPhife's allies is the Hootsman, who he meets in the year 992, and eventually he becomes he manages to conquer all the lands, but he after Angus MacPhife the First dies after defeating Zargathrax. So then he goes to California to become the king of that land. And he's basically all the Arnold Schwarzenegger references. The King of California, an actor, Conan, obviously, and even the Terminator, because in the second album, he manages to defeat Zargathrax by stopping his ritual to unleash what's essentially amounts to a galactic Balrog by blowing up his own nuclear heart.
Just like T3. Nice.
Yeah, those guys are massive nerds, and it's amazing.
That does sound pretty dang cool. I think like overall, like T1 and T2 are really good. They're very, very enjoyable. I think Terminator 1 is slightly better than T2, just in terms of like plot mechanics, but the action in T2 is so amazing.
Yeah, T2 I think won on broad appeal, whereas Terminator 1 definitely had a niche audience in mind. That's why Terminator 2 is more fondly remembered than Terminator 1, and probably more to the point why it managed to beat out other 90-oid sequels like Jurassic Park, RoboCop, Predator, depending on who you talk to. I know some people really like Predator 2. And and Aliens are like major bucks to the trend of the second movie actually not working out.
Yeah, it's very rare. It was very rare back in the day to have a sequel that was like as good or better than the or at least like being like commercially successful and being also creatively successful, as opposed to the first one. Usually like sequels were bad, like RoboCop's 2. I've heard that it's really bad. I haven't
even nowadays the creative success is pretty rare.
Yeah. Which sucks, and we'll be getting a bunch of Knives Out sequels on Netflix.
Weird thing is nowadays, second movies of franchises that come out now tend to actually generally come off pretty well, if not better, especially in superhero movies, with the sole exception of Iron Man. Iron Man can't catch a break, but everybody else, the second movie is way better. Captain America, Spider-Man, well, Thor also can't catch a break, but he got his break in 3. What are some others? Where the second was really good. Batman, duh. Dark Knight kicked the crap out of Batman Begins.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I like Batman, and Return earns quite a bit, but yeah, The Dark Knight is much better. I think that'll about do it. We've pretty thoroughly covered these movies. There's probably a lot more that we could have gone to in terms of like characterization and stuff, but I think the characters are pretty simple. It's just kind of like a description of like the performances really lend a lot to these characters more than like the writing of the characters themselves. I think that, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it very much knows the story it wants to tell and sticks to it.
Yeah. I know.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to jump off a little bit prematurely. But
well, no, we're all done. I think we'll conclude right there. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. Just as a reminder, Battle of the Seven Suns is currently out for pre-order and will be available in Kindle format. You can pre-order you can order the paperback right now. You can also order the rest of the books in the Dragonlord Annals. I am considering lowering the price of the previous books so that you can be able to buy the earlier ones so that you can read them. But they're currently priced at $5, so that's pretty cheap. $5 per book, so they're pretty cheap right now. And Battle of the Seven Suns is currently $6. So if you want to buy that, you want to. So go for it.
You capitalist pig.
I don't care.
Damn.
Speaking of capitalist pigs, let me know if you do a RoboCop one. I want on there.
Deal. Well, we need to do Maggie Mae Fish's RoboCop video.
Wait a minute.
We've done that already.
Well, we did, but Drake wasn't there for it.
I'll watch
it. No, Drake, just
I think
watch
I was
our
in the
cover
chat
of
for
it,
that
please.
One. Or I was in the chat for somebody's. It's either you or Smud.
It was probably Smud. It was either Smud
or we have a breakdown of it.
Yeah,
we watch that instead. Don't even watch the video itself.
I think that's on my channel, not Dunn's.
Yeah, it's definitely his channel. It's definitely White's.
Yeah, because Neff and them are like boycotting fucking her shit on his channel.
On her channel. I don't think she's
on your channel.
Well, boycotting. Well, they're boycotting if like anything related to Maggie on mine.
Everyone, they're just putting their foot down whenever Maggie comes up.
Yeah, it's just like it's kind of just like she's just another YouTuber. She's crazy, but she's not like that horrible. She's not. I don't know who's worse. Her. I can't tell who's worse. Her or Movie Bob.
Movie Bob is worse.
I'd say Movie Bob. Yeah,
is not sane enough to be dangerous.
Alrighty. Well, we'll call it good there. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.